And every day you're putting another brick down. And suddenly you look up and you're like, holy cow, I have built a skyscraper. This is amazing. Because that's how skyscrapers are built, right? It's literally one thing at a time. If you want to go on a journey of 1,000 miles, it literally begins with mile number 1, right? So if you want to get to mile 1,000, you have to start with mile 1, and eventually mile 464, right? You have to start passing through all of these points to get there. If your A1C is at 12 right now and you're really disheartened, then hey, your A1C goal is 7. You have to pass through 11, 10, 9, and 8. And that can seem like a lot. But when you start breaking it down into that small amount of, well, I'm at 12, I need to be at 7. If you break it down, I just need to get to 11 first. Then I just need to get it to 10. Then I need to get to 9.5. It seems a lot more palatable. It seems a lot more bite-sized. It seems a lot more digestible.
Coach, and I've lived myself with type 1 diabetes for over 20 years, and I am here to share everything that I have learned in both my personal and professional experience so you can live that incredible diabetes life. So get ready and let's dive right into today's episode.
What is going on? Welcome to the Your Diabetes Insider podcast, where today I'm battling a sinus infection, but I'm still here because I know that you need to have better blood sugars and feel your best and live a life unrestricted by diabetes. And so I want to make sure I'm showing up and showing out for you. And honestly, this is probably the best I've felt. And that's saying something because I don't feel 100% at all. I'm probably like 60% at best right now. And that's at best. And some parts of the day I'm at like 20%. But before I dive into the real fun, I just want to make sure, in case you have not seen, I did finally release Blood Sugar Club, which is an incredible diabetes support system that is at your own pace, on your own time, whenever you want to learn new things. It's got everything in there, from resources, from nutrition to exercise, to travel, to sick days, to, things you can screenshot and bring into restaurants. You can watch shorter videos, longer videos. There's also live support with me, live support with Kyra, an amazing dietitian on my team. There's also recipes and workouts and the fast food guides in there. If you need resources on what to get when you go out to certain places on the go, there's a million things in there. It's less than $1 per day. And if you want to check that out, just either type in yourdiabetesinsider.com as well as Blood Sugar Club. It's going to be in the show notes for this as well, or just message me on social media. Happy to lead you there. But like I said, it is incredible. I'm super grateful. We've already had people having major W's. We've had someone who already has crushed a travel day. Somebody else already brought their average blood sugar down by a significant amount in just a few days. So very excited for that. Definitely check that out. The community cheering you on makes all of the difference. So that being said, going into the fun, and what I'm about to go into is what I consider to be one of the differences between if you're the person who's on this side saying, I'm living my life, I'm doing my thing, I'm eating my food I love, I'm exercising, and everything's just kind of humming along. And the other side of, I'm on the blood sugar roller coaster, my life is crazy, diabetes is constantly in the way, and it's driving me absolutely nuts. And this topic, again, it might seem cliche, it might seem, oh, this is obvious, Ben, but at the end of the day, it has to be a good reminder. And you have to be thinking about this is from a building standpoint. This would be great if you're in Blood Sugar Club, you're working with us one-on-one or neither of the above. This would be a great place to begin is, are you actively doing one thing per day? At minimum one, ideally, a couple, but one thing per day that is going to get your blood sugars better. And so what do I mean by that, right? Because it seems really obvious. Oh yeah, do this one thing. Pick something. I don't care what it is, right? Maybe for you, it could be, hey, I'm going to make sure I dose my insulin on time. Maybe it's going to be, I'm going to make sure after lunch I go for a 10-minute walk because I keep noticing my blood sugar rises high. Maybe it's, hey, I had a high-fat meal and I'm going to pay attention a few hours after the fact for that secondary rise. But whatever it is, pick one thing. Don't overwhelm yourself. Things are crazy. It's a crazy time of year. Maybe you're on vacation. Maybe your kids are out of school. Maybe you're out of school and you got a million things on your calendar. Whatever it is, pick one thing and do that thing well, and do that thing today. And then tomorrow, based on what you did, hey, I need to do that thing again. And then take that thing and say, I'm going to do that thing one more time. And at that point, it's starting to become more of your norm, right? It's starting to become that, well, I think I'm getting this down. I think I'm getting used to this walk after I eat lunch for 10 minutes. And it's also a great idea to do that if you aren't already, but I'm doing this consistent. Then let's pick that next thing. And this could be a day where you sit down for 20 minutes and you think of, okay, what are all the areas that I'm struggling with my blood sugars or my kids' blood sugars or whoever? Let me write down 8 or 9 or 10 things that I think I could do that would help my situation. And you're going to pick that top one, and that's going to be that thing you do. So like the lunch example of walking, that's the first thing you do. You do that for, 2, 3, 4 days. And then now that that's in the flow, then you go on to the next one. Maybe that one is, hey, I'm going to make sure that I'm plugging my food into a food journal. So I know if there's a high fat meal, when to expect for it to hit. Now you're doing that, right? And that's kind of in the periphery. Then it might be, hey, I'm going to start working out. I'm going to start, lifting weights a couple times a week. Nothing crazy. Got some resistance bands, some dumbbells at home. I'm going to start doing that. And then you plug that in. And all these things keep building on one another, right? And so what ends up happening is you're building and you're building. And every day that you succeed, you are putting a brick down to start a part of your foundation, right? You've got a brick here, then you've got another brick, and then you've got another brick. And every day you're putting another brick down. And suddenly you look up and you're like, holy cow, I have built a skyscraper. This is amazing. Because that's how skyscrapers are built, right? It's literally one thing at a time. If you want to go on a journey of 1,000 miles, it literally begins with mile number 1, right? So if you want to get to mile 1,000, you have to start with mile 1 and eventually mile 464, right? You have to start passing through all of these points to get there. If your A1C is at 12 right now and you're really disheartened, then hey, your A1C goal is 7. You have to pass through 11, 10, 9, and 8. And that can seem like a lot. But when you start breaking it down into that small amount of, well, I'm at 12, I need to be at 7. If you break it down, I just need to get to 11 first. Then I just need to get it to 10. Then I need to get to 9.5. It seems a lot more palatable. It seems a lot more bite-sized. It seems a lot more digestible. And that's where the magic really starts to come into play, because now you're not stressed out about trying to make this massive jump. See this picture behind me? I think this is I think it's a beach. I don't know. It's cool. It's either a beach or like a marshy area or a lake, whatever it is, right? Imagine you're on that far thing where my finger is. You're far over there and you want to get over here. That's a big jump. That's a really big jump. That seems crazy. That's that difference of a 12 to a 7. That can feel like that difference from a 7.5 to a 6 when you've tried and tried and tried. That can seem like I need to lose 50 pounds. It's that big old jump. But when you start to break it down a little bit, you say you start having, there's a rock over here and there's a rock over here. And ultimately over time, you build this effectively a bridge there. It doesn't seem so bad. You start building out a bridge, you start building out a little more, and you suddenly can just walk all the way across. You're like, I made it. That's it. We made it. Mama, I did it. That's the cool part, right? And so you have to be willing to break it down. But that's why I was emphasizing and starting out with, what are those small actionable things you can do right this second, right now? Doesn't have to be crazy. Doesn't have to be, I'm going to, make the most grandiose dinner of all time. And I'm going to meal prep everything, go to the gym for 3 hours. Like, that's not sustainable. It has to fit into your life. It is why I'm suggesting pick one thing and pick one small thing. Because think about it. You start out at dinner making sure that you're dosing on time, or lunch or breakfast or whatever. Okay. One of your next things could be, let's make sure I'm doing it at the next meal. Let's make sure I'm doing it at the next meal. Okay. Now that suddenly becomes a part of the inner fabric of me, of how I am as a person with diabetes. Then, hey, I'm walking after lunch, walk after breakfast. Why not walk after dinner? Suddenly, these are things you don't even think about. You just do them. You're on vacation. You're out with your friends. You're like, hey, we just had a great dinner. Let's go walk for 10 minutes. You're not even thinking about it. It just becomes something that you do. And that's the thing. Everybody wants to make everything super complicated. And that's part of why, when we work with patients one-on-one, or whether you're in Blood Sugar Club and having the resources at your own pace, you've got stuff that's actionable that you can do right now. But I don't want you trying to take on 12 things at once, because that's how you either burn out or you end up falling, because you're trying to juggle 12 plates in the air at once. And inevitably, unless you are a master juggler, you're probably going to drop a few of them, if not all of them. And I don't know about you, but like when you're throwing all these plates in the air, if a plate comes down, crash, you start to get disheartened and suddenly you end up stopping entirely. And that's not what we want. I would rather take a small amount of momentum that you've got built up and say, how can we get this to roll a little bit faster, and a little bit faster. And eventually you're going, kaboom. And your A1C just dropped 3 points. You just dropped 22 pounds. Wow, this is amazing. This is how it works. It doesn't have to be complicated. I think everyone wants to overcomplicate diabetes in general. Everybody wants to overcomplicate accomplishing anything really in life, but anything physical and health related. They want to make it super, super complex, and it can be. But at the end of the day, if you're willing to just take one major focus and make that your thing for that day, it doesn't need to take over your entire life. Like, we'll have a whole roadmap for our patients, right? We'll say, okay, we're having you here. We want to get you here. Here's all the 22 things we want you to do, but we're only going to have you point out number 1 and number 2. And that's all we're going to do right now. Everything else is there. Read it, do what you want to do with it, whatever. But we have the whole game plan for you. But the difference is we're not having you focus on all of it at once, because it's not going to go well, right? If I tell you that you need to, and I'm making all this up, right? If I tell you need to make sure your blood sugars are better by, you got to fix your lows overnight. We got to fix your post-lunch high. We got to fix your post-dinner high. We got to teach you high-fat dosing. We got to make sure you're lifting 3 times a week. We got to make sure you're getting a certain number of steps. Building out your meals like this, you're going to be like, holy cow, Ben, how am I supposed to do all of this? But by breaking it down so simply and granularly and saying, hey, I'm going to focus on after lunch, taking a walk. That's it. That's all I want you to do. And it doesn't have to be the thing you do, right? But if you truly do, as I mentioned before, you say, okay, this is what I want to do. Here's my general plan. And again, you can do this on your own. You can do this with our team, however you want to do this, right? But you say, hey, this is what I want to do. What resources or what do I need to accomplish this? How do I need to facilitate this? And then what is that one actionable thing I'm going to do? And you're going to do it today. You do it tomorrow, do it the next day. And then cool. Now, ideally, it's part of you. And maybe you pick a whole week to do each one, right? It doesn't matter. You're racing against yourself. There's no one you're beating here. You don't get a prize for getting there faster. But you ultimately start to see everything start to combine itself and build on top of itself. And then you look back. And again, prime example of this. I remember we had a patient, this was 4 or 5 years ago, and she was eating like 45, 50 grams of protein per day. Her need for protein was about 100 grams more. And jumping from 45 to 50 grams to 145 to 150 grams is a lot. That's a big jump to ask of someone who's eaten a certain way for probably decades. And so over time, slow and steady, it built up and suddenly kaboom. They look back and they're like, wow, how did I only used to eat 45 grams of protein a day? I'm like, this is what happens when you do it slowly over time. The greatest things in life and the greatest things in general are all things that are going to be done over time. It's not going to be, oh, I did it quickly, done, game over. You can go for it, but it's either not going to stick, it's not going to be sustainable, or it's going to just be a fleeting temporary, oh yeah, I did this thing and I'm good, right? Think about it like this. If you're somebody who, if you're somebody who's competing in, for example, a sport, and you're like, okay, I got to get myself ready to go. I'm going to cram all this conditioning into 2 weeks. You'll probably be okay conditioning wise temporarily, but then you're going to crash and burn after, right? But on the flip side, if you're like, hey, I'm going to give myself time, I'm going to build my conditioning base, I'm going to make sure I build on top of that, I'm going to focus on recovery, you're going to feel a lot better. It does not have to be complicated. It does not have to be hard. You don't have to make it something crazy. It just has to be small, slow, steady progress. Because I will tell you, it's like, everyone talks about the tortoise and the hare. The tortoise wins in diabetes and health related things. And ultimately with, most of life in general, the tortoise is going to win. There will be times that the hare will win. That will be great. But more often than not, from a diabetes standpoint, it's going to be, you want to be the tortoise. You want to be saying, hey, one foot after the other, let's go. Maybe I had a rough day. I can focus on one thing that I can grasp onto, which that's the other beauty of it from a mindset perspective is the day might be terrible. Your blood sugars might be all over the place, but you did do your one thing that you told yourself you would do. And that makes that a victory right there. So you say, okay, what did I do well? Well, I did this thing that I said I would set out to do. And then eventually it becomes, hey, I took the walk. I dosed on time. Maybe nothing else went the way it was supposed to, but I did do those things. And that's something I can hang my hat on and feel good about. And eventually it just starts to become part of your daily. And I've seen it thousands of times. That's not an exaggeration. Thousands of times where someone comes in, they're averaging 175, 180, even more at times. And then within just a few, 6 months, they're averaging 125 and they're pissed off when they average 135. I have seen that again and again and again because they've built these things over time. It didn't just happen immediately. I always tell people too, whether it's weight loss, blood sugars, you didn't get to this point in 2 weeks. You're probably not gonna be able to undo it in 2 weeks. But what I can tell you is if you want to do it and you want to do it once and you want to do it the right way, right? Where you do it one time, it's done, it's established, you have your foundation, you're good, then that is something that you're able to do if you're willing to take the time that it needs and take your time and know that compounding over time, compound interest, right? Compounding over time is going to be what ultimately leads you where you want to go. That is my big thing for you. So do with that information what you will. Hopefully you pick your 1 or 2 things that you're going to focus on this week to start attacking. Let me know what they are. Holler at me on social media. Let me know what those things are. And like I mentioned at the beginning, if you are interested in self-paced blood sugar support, an absolute library, treasure trove of resources covering every area of diabetes, videos, different PDFs, right? Different things you can screenshot for restaurants, live support from me, live support from Kyra a couple of times a month, having the ability to have a community cheering you on, recipes, grocery lists, workouts, all of the things you need to be successful for less than $1 per day. Blood Sugar Club is your jam. Definitely check out the link in the show notes below. I will see you in the next episode. I'm super excited and I am praying that my sinus infection goes away. I'll catch you soon.
Hope you're ready for the next episode. Hey.